Another common question and source of endless debates still. How should I print my final mix? Is offline bouncing sounding worse than real-time printing? Do they sound the same? Do they sound different? Well, let's test it and find out. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day and stay safe out there. Before we start, check the info box down below for my mixing courses on ProMix Academy, free plugins, discounts and offers. And if the videos are helping you, you want to support the channel, please click the join button down here and see all the perks of becoming a MixbusTv member, including mix consultations with me via Skype or email. Let's get to the video. All right, what's the deal? Because I'm sure you heard the two sides of the story. You heard offline bouncing doesn't sound like real-time printing. And in most cases, people say real-time printing sounds better. It sounds exactly like the mix that I'm hearing when I play back. The offline bouncing doesn't. And then you hear the other side of the story that Pro Tools, we're doing this on Pro Tools, but you can try it on any other DAW. Starting from version 11, I think, the offline bouncing is sample accurate to the real-time bouncing. So they sound exactly the same, they null. If you're not familiar with the null test, that's science, that's undebatable. You use it to take away the bias and the inaccuracies of human hearing when you're in doubt if two tracks are exactly the same. Because someone say, oh, I hear the difference, you flip the phase of one, and if the result is silence when you play them together at the same volume, that's a scientific proof that they are exactly the same. Okay, so if someone says, oh, well, I hear the difference, well, you're crazy. Because the null test is scientific, okay? It's undebatable. So which one is true? Well, they are both true given certain variables. The variables being the plugins. And for me personally, this is not a problem because I mix with analog. So when you mix with analog, there's no offline bouncing. You have to print your mix in real time because the music needs to pass through your machines the entire length. But let's start the test. I will produce and compare 3 files: the real-time printing, the offline bouncing, and also the commit to this insert, which is gonna be the last one on my master fader. And it will do the pass 3 times. The first time, like nothing is there. So raw tracks, I'm just gonna use a trim plugin as a first slot for each track just to make a rough mix and not to clip. Okay, the second one is gonna be on every channel, on every track, an 8-channel strip with which I'm doing some compression and some EQ different from every track. Then the third pass with the same channel strip but no processing on it. And then the fourth pass with little radiator, with a saturator, a light saturator on every channel, okay? So let's start with the first one. Here on my Mixbus, I open a send, I call it print, and it goes to this print trim, which is an audio track, and this is how we are gonna record our mix. All right, so I'm just gonna record a quick pass. All right, and we have our printed mix right now. I'm going to make this one inactive so it doesn't go back into the mix bus. Now I'm gonna bounce offline our 2 bus and import it, drag and drop. Let's change color, let's make this one yellow so we can see the difference. Now let's produce the 3rd file, commit up to this insert. All right, let's reroute this to the mix bus, and now we have red track is commit to the insert, blue tracks is the real-time printing, and the yellow is the bounce offline. Let's start to see if we hear or see any difference between the real-time and the bounce. Let's open the EQ visualizer to see if we see any signal, and let's start playing. They seem to null. There's no signal going on, can't hear anything and can't see anything. But these trim plugins are there to boost the signal by 6 dB each one. So a total of 48 dB. We still don't see anything. Yeah, there's something here. You see? We start to see some signal. And it's dynamic. It seems like the kick and snare it's so low. It's inaudible. I can turn my volume all the way up. I can't hear anything. But still, they are not mathematically the same. This is kind of proof. So let's try between the commit to the insert and the print trim. This is interesting. We have some sort of noise. It could be dither. But why? Because I bounced, when you commit to this insert, I am at 24-bit, the session, 44.1, so there shouldn't be any dither whatsoever. And just to make sure, if I play where there's no audio, there's absolutely nothing. So there's some sort of noise here. Let's try with the bounce offline and commit to the insert. Same thing. There's this noise here. It's inaudible, and I boosted the signal by 48 dB, but they are not mathematically the same. And the noise, it's some sort of dither or filtering that Pro Tools does when you export the tracks that is random. So I suppose it's dither. Now, let's do another quick test. We leave the trim plugin there, and we open the channel strip. Now on any channel strip, you can see I did some compression and some EQ, different from any channel, just to add some processing to it, some variables, and see what we get by doing that. So let's do the process again. Let me delete these two. And let's open a new playlist. Plugins. Let's print this one. Let's bypass all of these. Okay, so you see there's compression happening on several tracks. On the kick drum, on the snares. EQ happening, and this is our print. Let's make it inactive. Let's commit to this insert. Let's bounce the mix bus. I'm bouncing a 24-bit, 44.1, exactly how the files are in the session. Bounce of line, let's make it yellow again so we recognize it. Bounce of line against the plugin, and we actually hear something here. We see very well the bottom end, the top end. Okay, let's boost the signal. There's this chirping going on between the two. So there is definitely a difference, even by using only the channel strip from Avid that should be completely linear, shouldn't have any kind of saturation or non-linearities, just by doing a little bit of compression and a little bit of EQ. These two are different. Let's try between the print and the mix bus. Appear to be pretty much the same. There's this chirping and the low end coming up. Bounce against commit. And there you go. There's only the noise. Okay? So there is definitely a difference between the printed mix, real time, and the bounce offline, the commit to this insert, commit up to this insert, and the bounce offline appear to be the same, but there is some dither for what we can see. Some sort of noise, it could be, and the encoding could be anything that is different between the two. So you're not gonna hear that when you actually commit to an insert, or when you bounce that way. If you bounce that way, is only the differences between two files, the same files printed with the same process, just because the noise is random, which shouldn't really happen because we are not changing sample rate, we're not changing bit depth. So it's worth investigating that. Now we can do another test really quick. I'm gonna bypass the second channel strip which has processing and open the third channel strip which has no processing on any track, just to see the difference. So we delete again these two, bypass all of these. Let's bounce no processing 3, the print is aligned. This is the commit to plugin versus the print. And again, we don't have anything until we boost the signal a lot and we have that noise. In this case, we have, remember, the channel strips, but there's no processing on them. While before we had the processing going on. So even if we add plugins, the result is still only this noise and there's no dynamic residual, okay, given by the processing, which is obviously different at this point when you bounce, when you commit, and when you print. Let's try with the offline bounce versus the commit, same thing. And between the print and the bounce offline, we still have this dynamic residual you can see here, okay? So the bounce offline versus print, they are different, even if there's no processing, even if the residual is super low. The last test that we can do, just to use a third-party plugin, I open a saturator on every channel with the same settings. So let's, again, print this one. Let's start with the commit versus the print with the saturator on. Even without boosting the signal, we hear and see all the difference between the offline bounce and the commit to this insert. You notice, again, there's no the dynamic residual that there is with the print. You can hear, and you can see from the graph that's a kick drum, okay? Between the print and the offline bounce, there is the same. So basically these two are exactly the same. The commit to this insert, if you do it on your last slot on your 2-bus versus the bounce offline, appear to be the same other than that residual noise. But the printed mix versus the bounced online, it's never mathematically the same. Even the very first one with just the trim to lower the levels was giving us a little bit of residual dynamic movement and signal there. The project was a 24-bit. The only variables were the plugins in the different tests, but everything else was the same. So what does this mean? Well, it means that the print in real time, it's different, first of all, and one would ask which one is better. Well, my guess, it's probably the real time it's better because that has always been the case. And also because you can monitor what you're actually printing, because the offline is faster. It's probably going to be a big difference. Now, like I said, I always print even if I don't use hardware, to be honest, because that's my habit. Because when you print in real time, something is messed up, you can stop, you can go back, you can adjust. But for me, it's just a better workflow. But yeah, this was for Pro Tools, but you can run the same test on any other DAW. If you do, make sure you don't introduce any other variables like I did here, okay? When you introduce a variable, you do introduce one at a time so you can compare. That's how we do scientific tests. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please don't forget to leave a like. If you have questions, leave it in the comment down below. Leave your comments down below and follow MixbusTv on Instagram and Facebook. We have a lot of exclusive content in there, including exclusive giveaways. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And please click on the notification bell. It helps the channel a lot. Stay safe. See you next time.